Okay, I think we are live for episode 2 of Thorazine, the Halloween only live AMA. Let me turn myself down there. I think we are. Can anybody hear me okay? Or could everybody hear me okay, I should say. How are we doing? Let me go over here to the chat. How are we doing? What's up, Chris Manley? How do I sound? Everything sounds okay? Because remember the first time we tried to do this, it didn't go over too well. So make sure, so let me know if yep, everything sounds great. Awesome. You see what a new computer can do. Isn't it wonderful? I had to buy a new computer anyway because my old computer was getting a little old. I had it since 2010, but I think it was like 2009 technology. And it was a great computer for its time. I'm, a PC guy, but it was a great computer for its time and really high end. But of course, technology expands exponentially, right? So, by the time like 2014 rolled around, it was already like way out of date. So I got a new computer. I bought an Alienware computer. Now, I'm not much of a gamer, really, but I bought it for its specs because I do a lot of video editing, audio mixing, mastering, HD editing, and the specs that are in a gaming computer are the specs that you would need for that kind of high-end shit. So, yeah, it's like my workflow is amazing. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. We got 12 watching. This is awesome. Yeah, so let me first... There's a couple of people who couldn't make it in today, so I want to sort of address their comments first. They left a couple of comments on the Patreon page, or the Patreon page, I should say. So let me just answer this first of all. Let me go down here. Let me just scroll, and then we'll go to the chat room, and we'll rock it. Okay, so this comes from Daniel Newbegin, who says, sorry, can't make the live show. My question is, what if they do a prequel to the original Halloween telling the story of the events after Michael kills his sister and his time at the asylum ending with how he breaks out in 1978? That's a great question. That doesn't feel like a movie to me. It feels more like a Netflix show or something that might go online. But at the end of the day, that would also give a lot of context to Michael's backstory. And I don't know if that is very advantageous. Sorry. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's a good thing to do. So I probably wouldn't do that. I think the character of Michael Myers works best when we don't really know anything about him, right? And we have to rely on Dr. Loomis's to really sort of get a sense of what we're dealing with here, right? I think that's the best way to go about it. Great question, though. Okay, Darren Sands says, in Halloween the Night He Came Back, he's referring to my Halloween fan film, you clearly used some of the original locations. How did you secure those? Was there a permissions process? Was it easy? Did you have any hoops to jump through? I can imagine that the Pasadena residents can get pissed at times with people just rocking up and filming in their neighborhood. Yeah, no, actually it was easier than you thought. The permission in terms of shooting at the Myers house, they were really cool. And there's rules around there, obviously, that they said, you can't come into the house, you can't come, because for those of you who don't know, a little bit of movie magic, the interior of the Myers house in my Halloween fan film is not the actual interior of the Myers house. I know, I spoiled it. But it's actually a house up here in Canada, in a town called Georgetown, which is just about 20 minutes north of where I am. I used to live there. And the interior of the house, specifically the front entrance where the stairs come down, well, you guys saw the film. I mean, it looks very similar to the interior of the Myers house. So through movie magic and fancy editing, when our actress comes down the stairs and exits the house, the very next cut is her on the porch of the Myers house, right? So those are actually two different locations. But the people at the Myers house were really cool. They're like, you can shoot here. Don't worry about this. But, as long as you don't do this, that, and the other, they were all right. And we didn't have a big crew because the shots we were getting were pretty simplistic. so we weren't drawing too much attention to ourselves, so they were okay with that. In terms of the shots around the Strode house, they're cool too, because on the around the side of the Strode house, I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but they have like a bunch of pumpkins set up and like a little plaque showing, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis on the stoop with her pumpkin, and they're like, you know, come all, take a pumpkin, take your photos, have fun. They were really nice people. So we did a little more than just take a couple of photos on the stoop, but they were cool with it. Like they were like, no, this is fine. Like you know, I mean, as long as you're not doing anything, physical damage to the property. I mean, if you're walking by the house or you're walking up onto the, steps or the studio, they're okay with that. And it was actually a pretty easy process. It wasn't that difficult. And because it's really, low budget for all intents and purposes, people were like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, it's not, I'm not making any money off of this. It's not for profit. They understood, and they actually, thought it was fun, and they thought it was interesting that we were doing sort of this mini kind of follow-up, right? And that was a lot of fun. He also goes on to say, also with regards to Halloween 2, how much do you think Carpenter actually directed? It looks like to me a blatant Spielberg Tobe Hooper scenario. If you guys don't know what Darren is referring to, he's talking about the original Poltergeist film. Having seen Resurrection, it's clear to me that Rick Rosenthal has no talent for emulating the JC look and feel of a movie. Granted, a lot of that was down to Dean Cundy, but I wonder if Rick Rosenthal was asked to step aside at any time. I know Carpenter was brought on to do reshoots, but feels like more than that to me. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It's a good question. I know Carpenter was on set. I don't know. I mean, when you look at Halloween 2, you're like, this is all right. It's all right. And then you look at Halloween Resurrection, you're like, the same guy directed this? Like, what the fuck? But then you look at the original Rocky, right? And then you look at Rocky 5, and those two movies were directed by the same guy. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection certainly is not the first example or only example of a director shooting a movie that's pretty good. Not bad. Yeah, it's good. And then shoots one where it's like, what the hell is this? Like, what were you on when you were shooting this? There's so many variables as to why, and it comes down to story. I mean, the story of Resurrection was garbage, and it was capitalizing on sort of the pop culture craze of what was hot at that time in terms of webcams, reality TV, and Rick Rosenthal just couldn't deliver anything that looked anything remotely like a Halloween film with that kind of a story. And so does it all fall down on him? Maybe. I agree with what you're saying. It is a little strange, but it's hard to say without knowing sort of the fine details of the working set. But anyway, he says, finally, what would you like to see on the next poster of the Halloween movie? If this poster back here is not the first and last one, what do I want to see on the poster? I would love to see something traditional, as he says. He'd like to see that as well. I'd like to see something traditional. Go back to the old school vibe of the original with the font, how the H and the N at either end of Halloween is slightly bigger than the rest of the word. I want to see that. I'd love to see something that's painted or hand-drawn. That would be really cool. But it doesn't look modern. It looks like 80s. Like, I think that would be awesome. That would be really cool. That's what I'd love to see. In terms of what's on it, just something simplistic. Like, no Kevin, Williamson H2O thing where you have all, like, the people on it. And no. Not that at all. Okay, and Daniel Seeley says, hey Dave, love the intro to your Halloween trailer reaction. If you do a sequel to your Halloween fan film, would you kill off Michael? I don't think you can really kill off Michael per se, even though, again, I do believe he is, human. There is a human side of him. I think the best thing to do is to, yeah, it's a tough question. When I kill off Michael, how do you kill him off and please everybody at the same time? I'm not entirely sure. It's a good question. I'd have to think about that more. Anyway, let's move on to the chat room here. And thank you for your patience, guys. I really do appreciate it. So let's move on to the chat room. Those are just a couple of people that couldn't make it today. So, I wanted to answer their questions. And if you guys can't make any future episodes of Thorazine, send me a message on Patreon and I'll answer yours first, of course, on the episode. Tabitha McCauley says, like your shirt. Are you referring to my shirt, Tabitha? I'm not 100% sure. I just joined the, I just began looking at the chat room. Okay, nice poster, Dave. Thank you, Tabitha. I appreciate it. By the way, Tabitha, I gave you a shout out on one of my videos. I think it was my box office video a couple of days ago. You were in one of the shout outs in my Freddy Krueger character. So I don't know if you saw that, but again, I will be doing more shout outs to my patrons, of course, who choose level number 2 and 3. So if I haven't called your name, I heard it. Thanks, Dave. No problem. If I haven't called your name, it's coming. Okay, so let's move back here. I'm just going to scroll back as I was reading the other questions. Okay, let's scroll back here. Come in. 16 people watching. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, Brett Young says, I'm going to say body count will be about 12 in this new movie. Yeah, there's no doubt that it's definitely going to be higher and certainly more intense for sure. But at the same time, when you think about the narrative, how many people could Michael Myers kill realistically in this movie without it taking away from the crux of the story and the pacing? So realistically, I think 12 is your high end. That's quite high. Because I saw somebody the other day, no, dude, I think it's going to be like 20, 25. And I'm like, 20, 25? Do you know how much time, unless he's killing, 6 people in one shot, like he's blowing up a car. I mean, do you know how much time, how much screen time, and how much part of the narrative you have to, give to killing 25 people? I mean, we're hardly going to get into the story if, he's going to kill 20 to 25 people. Like I said, unless he kills like, 6 or 7 all in one shot, like he blows up something. I mean, no, I think realistically speaking, I think Brett, when he says 12, I think that's the high end. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility, but I think that would be like your higher end. I think realistically you're looking at maybe like, series 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, like 8, 7 to 10 probably in there would probably be realistic. If they go higher than that, like if we're at like 15, 17, it's like, what the hell is Michael doing? Like he's coming in like a tornado, which in some senses works to his character, but at the same time, it's kind of like, wow, that's intense. Like, how much screen time are we giving to this? Because it makes me, the higher the body count, I'm left to assume that, well, where's the room then for suspense and buildup? Where's the room for that anticipation, right? Because if you're killing, like 15, 20 people, it would appear to me that you're leaving very little room for that suspenseful build-up to those moments. And then I just get worried that this is just going to be a, da-da-da kill, da-da-da kill, da-da-da kill, da-da-da kill. And it's kind of like, the kills might be cool, but at the end of the day, is there really any Michael Myers element going on here? So, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, 25. Yes, Rory. Somebody was like, I think it's going to be like 20, 25. And I'm like, 20, 25? 25! Do you know how much time we'd have to, set aside to show all these killings? I mean, Jesus, you'd see, Lori would say one thing and then we'd cut away to a kill. And then, her granddaughter would say one thing and then we'd cut away to a kill. I mean, it would just take up too much time, in my opinion. Okay, 8 sounds about right, Tim Mendez says. Yeah, I think so too, Tim. I think, I think that's probably in and around what we're looking for, 8 to 10. As Brett said, 12, that's at your high end, I think. Great questions, though. Okay, let me scroll back here. They should put the original pumpkin on the poster. That would be cool. I don't know if they'd put the original pumpkin on the poster. I think they should put the new pumpkin they have, which is sort of like a variation of the old pumpkin. Not the one that you saw in the trailer, but the one that's sort of been on a lot of the marketing before the poster came out. I'd be okay with that. That'd be cool because it's a reflection of today's movie, right? So that makes sense. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. That'd be cool. Tommy Gibbons says, thoughts on the producer's cut of Halloween 6? Yeah, I watched the producer's cut of Halloween 6, Tommy, and I mean, there are a lot of people that say, well, listen, if you don't like Halloween 6, you've got to watch the producer's cut of Halloween 6, okay? If you don't like the theatrical cut, watch the producer's cut. It'll change everything. It doesn't change anything. I mean, it gives more context, okay? And it changes, you know, a few things in terms of now I believe, you know, Michael's having sex with her niece and all, you know, all this kind of jazz, right? It's more, you know, more or less confirmed. And, you know, like, I get that, you know, they expand on certain things and they give context to certain things. So now, you know, things that seemed a little abrupt or didn't quite make sense maybe in the theatrical cut now have that context for them to make sense. But it's still the same movie. It's still the same story. I mean, it's not like I watched the producer's cut and the Thorn Cult has nothing to do with it, and now it's going back to, like, you know, something really, you know, traditional. And no, it's the same movie. It's the same movie, the same characters, with just a bit more context, where it might make you feel better about things that made you feel kind of weird and, you know, of Halloween 6, the theatrical cut. But at the end of the day, I watched it and I was like, okay, yeah, it's cool to, you know that, or it's cool that they expanded on that. I don't know why they cut that out. It's cool to have that perspective, but it's still the same movie. Scrolling down. Producer's cut came with the Blu-ray box set a couple years ago. Yeah, I actually don't have the Blu-ray box set. I was going to get it when it first came out, but I actually don't have it. And I should get it, but now I'm kind of like, well, maybe I'll hold off, because now that we have this new Halloween movie coming out, because I'm not really a fan of the later sequels, so I'm not rushing out to buy the Blu-ray box set just for the sake of having the box set. I understand that there are a lot of people that consider themselves completists, and even though they hate a movie, they want to have the set, right? Because I got the set. I get it. I understand it. But outside of Halloween 4, which I actually quite like, when I say quite like in terms of in comparison to the rest of the sequels, I mean the rest of the sequels after 4, I would be okay with having 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I don't want to have to buy the Blu-ray box set just to get those. So now I do have one. I have like every copy ever made of the original Halloween. I have quite a few copies of Halloween 2. I do have 4, and I do have 3. And I do have 5 and 6 and Resurrection and H2O, because back in the day I bought them, right, when I was collecting, but I haven't watched them in years. I haven't watched them in years. Oh, great question. Better sheriff and your personal favorite, Brackett or Meeker? Well, you know what? This is a good question, Brett. This is a really good question, and I can answer this. I actually think Meeker was the more interesting sheriff. And the reason I say that is because we don't really see a lot of Brackett in Halloween 1. He's playing the role of the guy that just doesn't buy into this, okay? And his role is sort of limited to that. And if we're just going with Halloween 1, there's not much for him to do. He doesn't do much in that movie. He's just sort of there so Dr. Loomis can spew his, shit about Michael Myers, and that's pretty much it. Now, on Halloween 2, we see more emotion from the sheriff, and there's that moment in the car right before they kill Ben Tramer, which is really nice. And then, of course, there's that moment where, he lifts off the sheet, realizes it's Annie's body, and he's like, "You let him out! You let him out!" I mean, that's nice. I like that. But if you look at the role of Sheriff Meeker over the course of Halloween 4 and even Halloween 5, I think we get to know him a bit more, because Sheriff Brackett sort of bows out quite early in Halloween 2. So, and he's not even there when they're looking at Ben Tramer's burnt body, right? It's, what's his face? Deputy Hunt. So so he's not even in that scene. That would have been cool to have him in that scene and see the dialogue exchange between Loomis and Sheriff Brackett. I understand that at this point now, I think, or did he? I stand to be correct. Okay, comment and let me know, guys. At the point when I forget now, at the point when the scene, when they're looking at the burnt body of Ben Tramer, had the scene already passed where Sheriff Brackett sees his daughter dead, Annie? Had that scene already passed? Let me know. I think it had. So that would make sense why he wasn't in that scene, because obviously he's so traumatized by the death of his daughter. The last thing he wants to do is be in the, in the room looking. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's fair then. That's fair. In terms of continuity and being true to the character, then it makes sense why the sheriff was not in that scene. Yeah, totally. Okay, 100%. But anyway, yeah, so the point is that we didn't, like, who's the better sheriff? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's, it's not really an answerable question, but I just think when I think of sort of the intensity and how much we get to know about the sheriff and how much effect the sheriff has on sort of the movie, I think Meeker probably plays a bigger role in that regard, where Brackett is, he bows out quite early in Halloween 2, and we don't really see him a lot in Halloween 1. And he's really, and, when we do see him, he's really there just to give Dr. Loomis a reason to say his shit. So I like him, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think my favorite line of the whole movie is sorry, Laurie. Well, it's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh? I mean, what I'm saying? I mean, you gotta love Sheriff Brackett. He's classic. It's Sheriff Brackett, but I think Meeker has a bit more of that, a bit more intensity there. I think we get to know him just a bit more. Anyway, great question, though. But I'd have to watch 4 and 5 again to really sort of, make sure of that. But from what I remember, I think that's true. Okay. Tabitha McCauley says, Dave, I can't wait to see the point of Halloween 2008. I can't wait to see the point of Halloween 2018. I'm curious for the Halloween 2018 film, the screening that was done to the focus group, which was denied apparently, but no, I think it did happen. Apparently there's not many callbacks, or sorry, there's not a lot of connection to the original film. I mean, they have moments like, no, that wasn't her brother. It was a thing that people made up. So that's a tie-in to the past. We have the scar on the arm, and I'm sure there are going to be things, no doubt. But from what I remember from the focus group, they said there wasn't a lot of that. They wanted to see a little more in terms of the continuity to establish that emotional connection. They felt that that Halloween 2018, at least what they were seeing at the screening, lacked a bit of that. It felt like it could, it needed to connect a little more. So I am just as curious to see how they're going to do that. If they're going to sort of just do a couple of throwaway lines to appease, fans of the original movie, where it's kind of like, okay, we'll throw that in there. We'll say that. Okay, are you happy? We connected it. Now let's, move on. Whereas I don't really want to see that. I'm not saying that you live in the past, but I think it is very important that you have that emotional connection to the past, especially since you're negating Halloween 2. So now you have to build a case for Laurie being this type of woman she is after the events of Halloween 1 only. Because Halloween 2, 1981, doesn't exist. She was never in the hospital. She was never chased. Unless they're going to, somehow incorporate that as a dream she had or something to that effect, which I don't think they're going to do. All that trauma and turmoil that happened in Halloween 2 to her character never happened. So now they have to do a good job on justifying why she's the way she is, just purely based on the events of the original. Which, okay, fine. But if you don't have that emotional connection to the past, it might be hard to buy into what they're selling. So I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And hopefully they do it a little more than maybe what the focus group said that they had done. I understand you can't live in the past. Totally understand. It's got to be its own film. But I just, I don't want to see throwaway lines. Okay. Chris Manley, 1994. Hey, Dave, what's up? This is something that's been on my mind since the trailer was released. When Michael is in the closet at the end, how do you see the kid getting away? Perhaps Laurie will save him. Oh, easily. I mean, because between the kid and Michael is the babysitter, or the girl. We don't know for sure if she's babysitter. I think she probably is. Is her. So she's Michael's first point of contact. So as soon as, if that scene plays out exactly the way we see it in the trailer, which it may not, okay, that scene might play out a bit differently in the actual movie, right? It's not unprecedented for things to appear in trailers that don't even appear in the movie, or their sequence of events and how they roll out is a bit different. So we have to keep that in mind. But if it does play out the exact same way, and she opens the door and there he is, well, she's Michael's first point of contact. The kid's in the bed, 5 feet away from the closet. So Michael's going to, come down and stab her or attack her. While that's happening, the kid appears to be old enough. The kid looks like, I think it's a he, right? It's a boy. Like 10, 11, something to that effect. He looks old enough to, know that, oh my God, he would probably jump out of the bed and run down the hall, maybe down the stairs while all that is happening. So I don't think I think it's really easy to expect that he would probably get away. And how he would get away was because she's Michael's first point of contact, right? If the closet door just opened and Michael was right there, or if the kid opened the closet door and Michael was right there, then it's kind of like, oh geez, how does he get away? It's like, how is Michael going to kill a kid? Like, are we going to see him, kill a child? So it's interesting. I'm not entirely sure how that would play out, but in terms of what you're saying, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. Aircar33, since Lori is the batshit crazy lady in town, what do you think of Lori being the main suspect in Haddonfield when the murders start? Oh, yeah. It's, there's so much good stuff that a lot of the fans have brought forward that I think could be really nice to see. The problem with that is that I think we're going to get a pretty cookie cutter movie. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a good movie, and there's not going to be some surprises and things that we haven't seen before and surprise us. No, I think David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are smart enough to know that, okay, we have to bring that essence, but we got to do our own thing here. But at the end of the day, in terms of the sequence of events and the narrative, I don't know if there's going to be enough time for people to think that Lori is the murderer, because I think the news is going to break pretty quick that Michael Myers has escaped, and Lori's going to, go into full sort of defense mode. And I think people are aware that she's crazy, yes. But whether she's responsible for the murders, I don't think so, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of time for murders to start happening where you could think that it was Lori. Like, I think things are going to unfold pretty quick at a pretty fast pace. But you see, that's a great idea. If you wanted to structure the narrative around that way, like people start to go missing leading up to Halloween, like that's pretty cool, right? But we know that Michael probably doesn't break out until the day before Halloween or the day of Halloween. Who knows, right? Great question, though. David Lee Barron, should we expect to not see Michael Myers in shadow like the original, because they really didn't show any of that in the trailer? Yeah, it's a great question, David. I don't know. I don't know. When I hear Jamie Lee Curtis say, they're doing it like John did it. Okay. Well, I want to know, because based on the marketing, which is the trailer that we have, based on those images that were released, right? Just the ones that I talked about yesterday. What does she mean by that? Does she mean that, they're doing it like John did it in terms of its small scale, in terms of it feeling like this, family kind of independent vibe where we all know each other and our prop department is, out of a Winnebago? And I mean, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about the execution of the movie is very much like how John Carpenter did it? Yeah, a lot of mood and atmosphere and low-key lighting, and because I haven't seen any evidence of that. In terms of Michael Myers, I haven't seen any evidence of that. I mean, we see Michael pretty clearly. And somebody said, well, of course they're going to show him clearly. We already know what he looks like. And I'm like, no, that's not why I said I wanted to see him in shadow and in darkness, because I don't want people, I don't want them to reveal what he looks like. No, of course we already know what he looks like. I'm talking about being true to the character. The character of Michael Myers in the original Halloween. Remember, this is a sequel to that first movie, so that's all we have to go on. So you can, talk about 2 and 4 and 5 and 6 and how he was out in Dale and how we saw him, and that's fine. But according to this new movie, those do not exist. So all we have to go on is the character of Michael Myers in the 1978 classic. So when we go on that, what is the character? How is he best served? How is he dished up in that movie, right? A lot of the times, always in shadow. shadow, low-key lighting with blue light, all that kind of stuff, right? And some people have said, well, we saw him, during the day as well in Halloween 1978. Yes, we did, but it was always at a distance, at the bush from a distance, inside the school when Laurie sees him out the window, at a distance, right? When she looks at him in Mr. Riddle's backyard, at a distance. We never see him close up. And one of the things that I said on the Hallow stream with the guys from We Watched a Movie, Lee and Cody, is I said, that's great because when we see him during the day, he's always at a distance, so we don't see him in any great detail because he's in our world at that moment. So there's that emotional disconnect there. Like, who is that? What's going on, right? When nighttime falls, right, when Halloween, nighttime Halloween sets in, then we begin to see him close up because now we're in his world, right? And there's a lot of low-key lighting and blue light and shadows, and I love that kind of shit. And I didn't see any of that in the trailer. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it. That doesn't mean Michael didn't look great. That doesn't mean that it's not the best-looking mask since the 1978 original, which I think it is. It doesn't mean all that, but I don't see any evidence of we're doing it the way John did it. Okay, well, it looks good. Okay, but what do you mean by that? Like, I don't see any evidence of that yet, unless she means that it's just a low-budget horror movie and we're having a lot of fun doing it and everything feels like family. Okay, well, then fine. Cool, okay. But if you're doing it the way John did it, then when I watch the movie, I should suspect there should be moments, not necessarily the whole movie, because David Gordon Green has to make it his own. We know that. He has to do that. But there should be moments where I'm watching and I'm like, oh, this is Halloween. This is what we know from the character, right? Coming out of the darkness, low-key lighting, his mask slowly, all that kind. That's what Michael does. There, not there, all that kind of stuff. We should see that because that's true to the character. Great question. Scrolling back where Bud was with the hot nurse. Oh, I got to scroll. I don't even know what you guys are talking about now. I just see Bud, hot nurse. You guys are great. You guys are funny. Yeah, I got this light over here that I usually have on when I do my videos. I turned off because just thought it was a moodier atmosphere for Thorazine. Okay. Tommy Gibbons, how much punishment do you think Michael will take, if any? I think he'll take some punishment. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think he will. How much? I'm not entirely sure. I guess it all depends on... I don't think he's going to be blown up and, he's going to catch fire or anything. But yeah, I definitely think there's going to be some punishment. I think Laurie's going to give him some punishment. That's a good question. It's a good question. I'm not sure. I think he'll take some, though. John Messiter says, I wish this new movie would have started right after Halloween 2, with Michael's burning body mustering the strength to stand again. Blood, tears, black and flowing, then... dump himself into the tub. Oh, I see. The hot tub. Yeah. You could have done that. Yeah, there's so many. I don't think they necessarily had to negate Halloween 2, 1981. I don't think they had to. I understand why they did, but I don't think they had to. I think they could have worked around it. But with John Carpenter on board, and John Carpenter not really a big fan of what he himself even wrote, I don't know if they got rid of Halloween 2 because they couldn't bring back Michael Myers, or they couldn't justify why he was brought back. I don't know if that was... I'm sure that was part of it, 100%. But I think it probably had more to do with getting rid of the brother-sister story angle. I think that is probably why. That was more the driving force, because they wanted to go back to the roots of the original intent of the character. And that, of course, was that there is no rhyme or reason for doing what he's doing. He's that force of nature just rolling on through, right? Like a great white shark or a tornado. And that doesn't mean he didn't have an infatuation with Laurie. That doesn't mean that. But he's not going after Laurie because she's his sister. And I think that was probably more the driving force why they got rid of Halloween 2. Yes, of course, it helps that now you don't have to explain how he survived a fire. Sure. Yeah. Okay. But I think it was more the other thing. Yeah, they could. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could have done that. I think it might have been better for them to just say that his. Yeah, it's tricky because when you want to remind people that he is human after all, he's supernatural as well, but he is a human being. Then yeah, I think that might be what you have had to have done. Yeah, it's probably both things. It's a good question. Good question. Fate never changes. Yeah, that's true. But you don't have to have Michael Myers and Laurie related as siblings for that line, fate never changes, to still hold meaning. Like, it still holds meaning in the original Halloween. 100%. It also, when you watch Halloween 2 and you're like, oh, they're brother, sister, fake, it can now have extra meaning for you. But it still holds powerful meaning in the first film as well, and with how things sort of roll out. Okay. Scrolling back. Halloween. Saturday, June the 23rd. I love how you guys are talking amongst yourselves too. That's great. And I mean that sincerely. That's awesome because I love reading. Oh, I think I just spat. I need more water. I love reading the comments. Or the conversations, I should say. Do you want to know what I hope? I'm actually really hoping that the beginning of this new Halloween movie does not show us anything from 1978. Now, it can recount the events, okay? We can certainly see the ending of 1978 play out, but I don't really want any new footage. I don't really want anybody, I don't want them to reenact it. I don't want them to do any sort of extension, because I've thought about this long and hard. And at first, I didn't really know. I was like, yeah, I might be open to that. That might be kind of cool. But now, no, I don't think so. And the reason for that is because because it runs the risk of them touching the incredible ending that is Halloween 1978. I hope at no point in the movie do they show this or allude to this, that Michael was apprehended on the front lawn. So when he's shot 6 times and he falls off the balcony, Dr. Loomis looks over, he actually is there, and you hear like, woo! And the police roll up and they apprehend him on the front lawn. I am hoping they don't show that or say that or allude to that in this new movie. I hope they don't, because that actually does change the physical ending of the original, but it changes the whole point and the whole message of the original movie. And it changes, it is one of the most iconic endings in horror history. You can't change that. If you want to say that he, got up, was gone and he was apprehended in an alleyway 6 blocks away, oh, okay, fine. But don't do it on the front lawn. And I just feel that if you show, if you do your own sort of interpretation of what happened after, don't do that. Don't do that. Just leave that alone. I'm hoping they're smart enough to know that, no, we can't change anything about the ending of the original movie. We can't. So for those of you who think that they're going to go in and actually change the ending where Michael doesn't get shot and instead he doesn't fall off the balcony, he falls down the stairs, they actually change the physical ending of the movie. So, they're going to cast somebody to play Loomis and no. Because then that renders all your copies of John Carpenter's Halloween obsolete. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. I don't think they're going to do that, because now you have a movie where the ending is no longer canon, and it's kind of like, well, are they going to re-release Halloween again with this? It's fucking stupid. So I think everything in 1978 should remain intact, including him being gone when Loomis looks over the balcony. The question is now, instead of going left to the Elrod's house, he goes right and he's apprehended. It's just that kind of thing. But so I'm actually just hoping we don't see that. We don't see him being apprehended. I don't want to see it. That's how I feel about it anyway. Okay. Rory Moore says, Rob Zombie's movies aside, do you think Michael did something in the asylum besides staring at the wall to help Loomis see his pure evilness? Well, of course, yes, of course. I think people take that too literally. Obviously, Michael ate. obviously Michael, like, John Carpenter's interpretation of Michael as the boy, and I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, standing on a single, that actually comes from John Carpenter's experience when he was he in high school? Maybe he was in high school. I don't think he was in college. I think he might have been in high school, and he was on some sort of field trip or something, and he went to some sort of asylum, and he remembers seeing a little boy at the asylum, and that was his interpretation, and he used the inspiration of that experience to write the dialogue for Dr. Loomis. So I think people take it too literally. It's unbelievable that people take that literally. I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking back. And that's all he did. For 15 years straight, he was just like this. He never went to the bathroom. He never ate. You know, he never, like guys, like, don't take it so literally. He's not exaggerating, but he's saying that to make a point to the sheriff that, you know, for the most part, this guy was in a catatonic state. He didn't speak, he didn't move, he just, stared at the wall. In other words, whenever I'd walk into the room, by and large, I'd find him staring at the wall. You know, whenever he'd come back from eating, or, he'd come back from a session, with me or whatever, he would just go back to, looking at the wall, or, looking at the floor. It's that's what he means. He doesn't mean that literally for 15 years, literally, he did nothing but this. Like, I mean, he doesn't mean that, he just means that this guy, there's nothing there. Like, I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at the wall, not seeing the wall. Like, I saw all this happening. That's what he means. But it's amazing how people take that literally to mean that he did nothing but. And, I mean, okay, I mean, if that's what you want to interpret, okay, but I don't think that's how he meant it. He meant it that, by and large, all he did was nothing. That's essentially what he meant. David Ferguson. Hey, David, how you doing? He says, near the start of the trailer, if you hear my chair, it's because it's just my chair. I got to get a new chair. I've had this thing for like 12 years. Near the start of the trailer, when we see the sketch of one of Michael's victims, I'm thinking it is Annie Brackett, judging by the wound on the neck. Would you agree? Yeah, I would say that is a very good, that's a good guess. Yeah, I would say so, because, I mean, I guess it could be Linda, because we know that Linda was strangled. So it could be Linda, but no, I tend to agree with you. I think it's probably Annie. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not Bob, because it's a female, I think. So yeah, no, I would say that's good. Okay, this is great, guys. Get Verizon. Yeah. Hey, I just got a new phone. I got the Galaxy Samsung S9 Plus. I'm a Samsung guy. I've always been a Samsung guy. I've always been an Android guy, and I went from the very first Galaxy phone. Here in Canada, it was called the Samsung Captivate, the GS1, I guess. And then I went to the GS3, and then I went to the GS6, and now I'm on the GS9 Plus, which is the latest and greatest. And I'm telling you, it's the best smartphone I've ever had. I'm not knocking the iPhones. They're great too. But this is an incredible phone. I usually upgrade once every 3 phones is what I do. Because then I really notice the difference. I don't upgrade from phone to phone because it's like, it's pretty marginal. But going from the 6 to the 9, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, it's amazing. Great camera too. Okay. Aircar 33, everybody is freaking out online about a second killer in the house where Laurie is shooting at Michael. When to me, it's clearly the sheriff. What do you think? Everybody freaking out online. I love it.
Oh my God, there's a second killer. There's a second killer.
No, I think I would agree with you. I don't know for sure if it's Will Patton's character. It could very well be. But a second killer, like a copycat killer? No, no, no. Because then that takes away from Michael Myers. It takes... Michael's going to be your main antagonist and your focus of this movie. And even if they wanted to sort of draw your attention away from Michael and give the impression that maybe there's somebody else, I think that's getting into more... That's more mature writing. Like, that's more... And I'm not saying that you can't do that with a Halloween movie. I think it's just too involved in terms of the narrative and the plot, and now we got to go, you know, this way, and we got to draw your attention over here, and there could be this copycat. We see what's going on. Like, that's, I mean, that's cool, and but I don't think that's what they're going for here. I think this is going to be a pretty cookie cutter type of movie. Pretty predictable in terms of how it's going to go. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to predict the moments from moment to moment in terms of how somebody's going to die and that doesn't mean that everything's going to be predictable. I just mean that in terms of its sequence of events, I think, okay, we know that Michael's going to do that, then Michael's going to escape, and he's going to go back to Haddonfield, but first he's got to get a mechanic suit, and he's got to get the mask, and then he's got to drive, and like, I think we kind of know how this is going to roll out. So I think to start having other subplots of like copycat killers, and people think Laurie is the murderer, and that's cool. But that's like a 2-hour movie now. And that's really like sort of setting it. Now you have to like, now it becomes like this psychological drama. And, you know, and I just don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be pretty cookie cutter. So no, I agree with you. I don't know if it's the sheriff, but it's definitely not somebody, it's not another killer. Will Myers has entered the room. Where did you get your Halloween shirt from? Yeah, a lot of people ask me about my shirts. This one I got from 80stees.com. I think that's it. Just Google 80s tees, as in t-shirts, 80stees.com or 80s tees, and you should get the website. And I ordered quite a few shirts from them. The Skeletor shirt I wore on one of my live videos last week, I guess it was. I got that from there. Got this from there. My other He-Man shirt that I wore the other day, I got from there. So yeah, I also go to terrorthreads.com as well. Terrorthreads.com. They're great, as well as horrormerch.com. The Friday the 13th hoodie, which is somewhere around here. That one, which everybody seems to really like, that's from horrormerch.com. The one with Michael Myers on the front of my shirt, where he's just got, like, you know, the knife. You've seen me wear it. I wore it during the Hallow stream with Lee and Cody and the guys from Wham. That one I got from terrorthreads.com. So 80s tees, Terror Threads, Horror Merch. Check them out. You can get them there. Really awesome shit. Okay, KC Sports Not 33. Brett Young, do their shirts shrink much? He's talking to Brett Young. Do their shirt? I don't know if I got mine from Rags Online. Oh, Rags, yeah. I know the ones from 80s Tees. I think they're pre-shrunk. I think. The ones from Terror Threads and Horror Merch, I don't think are. But you can find that out. Shoot them an email and ask. I never put my t-shirts in the dryer anyway, just to be safe. So when I wash my shirts, I always hang them up because I'm like, you know, I don't want anything to happen to these babies. So, yeah. And I'm a medium, really. So, but I always buy large, just in case it does shrink, then I can still wear it. Because the worst is when you buy your size, especially in t-shirts. You buy your size, but then you accidentally throw it in the dryer, and all of a sudden, it's like painted on you. You can't wear it anymore. Okay, Brett Young says, is there a possibility for a Dave McRae voiceover TV spot worldwide for the new Halloween? Oh, there's always a possibility. I don't know. Maybe if Blumhouse wants, you know, but that's not really up to Blumhouse. That would probably be up to the Universal department, the Universal Studios marketing department, and whether or not they're directly involved or they outsource to the trailer houses that do it. There's a lot of sort of second and third parties involved when dealing with marketing and trailer houses, and when you get to finally me doing the voiceover. So there's a lot of sort of people that get involved in that. It's possible. I'll do it. I'm ready to do it. If they want me to do it, I'll do it. But who knows, right? Whether that'll happen or not. A lot of with movie trailers today, like most of the movie trailers I do nowadays are actually for animation. I find that movie trailer voiceovers, like I get hired a lot for my movie trailer voice, which I can do, which I'm sure you guys have heard on my voiceover reel. If you haven't, it's on there. But I find that I'm doing that voice less and less because I'm getting hired less and less for the scary movie trailers. And a lot of the top VO guys that do it, way more than me, are getting hired less and less as well for that. I find that with animation, however, I'm doing a lot of animation trailer voiceovers because they still want the sort of, the peppy kind of young hip voice, the tone of kind of like, Disney Pixar's Inside Out. Like they still want that kind of tone to really help sell the fun, jovial kind of tone of the animation movies. But in terms of trailers, in the horror genre, a lot of cases, they're just letting the visuals, kind of sell themselves. And sometimes they'll just use text and things like that. So, but it's, it's cyclical, right? I mean, it comes around, it comes around. Right now, we're sort of in that phase, but in another 2 or 3 years, we could be back into voicing all sorts of crazy horror shit. So it comes and goes, right? There's definitely ebbs and flows in the entertainment industry in terms of what's in, what's hot, and how they want to market something. And that doesn't mean you don't hear voiceovers for horror trailers. I just find with me personally, I'm starting to do more of the animation as opposed to the horror. I still do the horror, but not as much at the moment. But again, like I said, it's cyclical, right? But yes, I would definitely do a Halloween 2018 movie trailer if they wanted me to. Come on. Okay, let's just scroll up here. Tabitha McCauley, Dave, do you own only that one Michael Myers mask? Yes, I do. I've owned many over the years, and there was one point where I had about 4 at the same time, but I sold them because I just didn't feel the need to keep them anymore. I mean, I liked them. They were great, don't get me wrong. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it, a bit of extra cash and, I'll sell this. I want this to go to a good home. But I kept that one because that was my favorite. That was my favorite out of all the ones I had. And I think that one there probably replicates the best looking H1 from all sorts of different angles. I think I could get that looking like the Halloween 1978 Michael Myers mask the best from the most different angles, if you know what I'm talking about. So I think that's by and large why I kept it, because it's a gem. But like any collector, I probably will buy a few more very shortly. I've been feeling the itch again. So yeah, but great question. Yeah, at the moment that's the only one. Tommy Gibbons, would you rather see John Carpenter writing a script for Nightmare on Elm Street or Wes Craven doing a Halloween script? That's a great question. I think most people would probably agree. I think Wes Craven doing a Halloween might... Well, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I think they're pretty interchangeable. I mean, when you look at A Nightmare on Elm Street and you look at Halloween, I think Wes Craven could do a Halloween movie based on the original sort of flavor of the first film, right? And I think John Carpenter could do I think he could do an Elm Street movie when you base it on the first film. So, I think it's pretty interchangeable. Which I would rather see? I would be very curious to see a Wes Craven Halloween. That would be cool. I'd be curious to see that. I mean, like a serious film, not a spoofy kind of movie like The Screams were, but an actual serious horror movie from Wes. A Halloween film? I think that would be cool. Of course, that's not going to happen now, but yeah. Are you saying Michael Myers isn't jovial? You're talking about the Halloween, the movie trailer voiceovers. No, yeah, no, he doesn't appear to be jovial. No, he doesn't. A little strange. A little strange. Coming this October. Rory Moore, will you try to get the 2018 mask to go with your original mask, whether it be from Trick or Treat Studios or have one made like that? Great question, Rory. In regards to Trick or Treat Studios, I'm going to wait to see what they look like, because I did see the images where we saw them sort of all lined up, and I believe they were upside down. So the hair was sort of, falling to the ground, not falling to the ground, but falling off the mask because of gravity. So it didn't really give me an accurate look on what the mask is going to look like with hair. And if it's typical Trick or Treat Studios Halloween 2 mask hair, the hair could make or break that mask. Now, the mask appears to look pretty good. The mask, if it looks like anything like the images did, and if it looks sort of like what I'm seeing in the images that were released of seeing them all lined up, yeah, okay, this might be pretty special. But I don't like what Trick or Treat Studios is selling in terms of their masks. Their other shit. Like, their Halloween 2 mask looks nothing like the mask from Halloween 2. Nothing. Look, if you have it and you love it, that's great. This is my opinion. I don't look at Trick or Treat Studios Halloween 2 mask and go, oh shit, fuck, wow. Not at all. It's borderline not even a Michael Myers mask. I mean, they got, it's there. Like, the essence is there a bit, but it doesn't look like the mask from Halloween 2. And the hair is awful. Can't tell you how many videos I've seen of people wearing that mask and the hair, is up like this. It's just awful. Their Elrod mask is, I'm assuming, supposed to look like the mask from the scene with with the Elrods. It doesn't look anything like that. I don't look at that mask and go, oh shit, does that ever look like Dick Warlock in the background behind Mrs. Elrod? When she's trying to ask her husband if she wants mayonnaise on his sandwich. Holy shit, does that ever look like that? It doesn't look like that at all. It doesn't not look like a Michael Myers mask. Even the Halloween 2 mask, yeah, it looks like it, but it doesn't look anything like it's just, they're mass-produced masks, and I just don't, when you look at that, it's like, yeah, I'm not, you get what you pay for. So when I found out that Trick or Treat Studios was doing the new Halloween mask, I was like, okay, well, let me wait and see what this looks like first. I mean, it might be the best mass-produced Halloween 2018 Michael Myers mask that you will be able to get. Yes, I think that's probably safe to say. But is it going to be just as good as, like, one of the independent artist masks? I don't know, because they have to mass-produce these things. And I don't think the same attention to detail and care will be able to go into each and every one like you can with those kind of things. Because, you can act like, yeah, I just think at the end of the day, eventually you're going to lose a lot of the nuance and the subtleties that may make that 2018 mask really special. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm a wait and see. Let me wait and see. A lot of people have pre-ordered it, and they're going to get it, and they will no doubt post pictures of them in their masks and post videos on YouTube of them, and I'm like, okay, I'll wait and see what it looks like. I'll wait and see what it looks like in sort of real time, so to speak, right? Not on Trick or Treat Studios' website. So that's what I have to say about that. And again, I'm not saying it's not going to be great. I'm just saying that I'm not crazy on the masks they do sell, so I'm going to wait and see. Aircar33 Dave, it looks like Michael is trying to lean in and say something into your mic. Oh, yeah. Back there, you mean? Yeah, he's leaning in. Oh, yeah. Or, oh, no, you mean over here. You mean over here. Sorry, that's right. Yeah, I forgot I had the poster back there. Yeah, it does. It does, doesn't it? What's he saying? Mike, what are you saying? Sorry, I thought you meant back there. I forgot I had the poster out the door. I just put that up a couple of days ago. Okay. Just scrolling here. John Messiter, who made, I'm assuming you mean, who made the 2018 mask? Do you think they would do one-off customs? Well, special effects and makeup artist Christopher Nelson had a big hand in making the mask for the 2018 film. Definitely. There's another guy that also was a big part of that as well. His name escapes me, but I certainly don't want to not at least mention that there were other people involved. Do you think they will do one-off customs? Well, I sort of just answered that, I think. Trick or Treat Studios is doing mass-produced Halloween 2018 masks. One-off customs. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like where, it's like, I think you will probably have to lean on the independent mask makers, like the guys who make those things, to ask that question too. There's no doubt that they will make their own version of the 2018 mask. 100%. 100% they will. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Brett Young says, who do you think would win in a fight between H4 Michael and H6 Michael? Oh, God, I hate these questions. I don't know. I have no idea, considering they're both played by George P. Wilbur. Let's just say that George P. Wilbur in H6 looked like he had been eating too many pizzas, so he might have a bit of, he might have some extra weight on him. So yeah, I'll go with H6. That's funny. I love that shit. Okay, just scrolling back here. Oh, I already answered that. Sorry, it's the TV spot for Halloween. Yeah, man, that'd be great. If they came to me, I'd be down for it. I can record it right here in my home studio. I have a booth off over there where I record all my professional work. This mic I just use for, this stuff. YouTube and live AMAs. David Lee Barron, do you have respect for Halloween 4? Yeah, I do. I do have respect for Halloween 4. I think it's the best Halloween sequel aside from Halloween 2. And some argue that it's better than Halloween 2. And I do think it's a decent sequel. It was a decent return to the franchise. It was Halloween 5 that everything went wrong. I don't love Halloween 4. I don't think it's a great movie. A lot of people have some nostalgic, emotional nostalgia ties to that movie because for many it was the first Halloween film they ever saw, or the first one they saw in the theater, or their introduction to Michael Myers. And the reason why that is because, not the only reason, but we have to remember after Halloween 2, 1981, there was 7 years where there was no Michael Myers. Right? And Jason and Freddy were tearing it up at the box office with all their movies. And then all of a sudden there's this movie that comes along called Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And for a lot of people, that was their first introduction to Halloween, the series, and the character. So there's definitely that emotional, nostalgic tie to it. And I think it's an okay movie. I think it's fine. But I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's one of the better sequels. Absolutely. The last good Halloween sequel. Yeah. Because 5 was garbage, 6 was garbage, H2O was garbage, Resurrection was garbage, Rob Zombie's films were garbage, Halloween 4 was the last, in my opinion, all right Halloween movie. Mask was shit. Can you imagine if the mask in Halloween 4 had looked anything like the mask in part 1 or 2? Can you imagine just that alone, how much that would have elevated the movie? Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? I'm not saying it would have changed all the other problems that I have with it, but can you imagine that alone would have lifted the movie up quite a bit? Because now you have, oh shit, yeah, Michael Myers. You know what I'm saying? Unbelievable. That mask was garbage. Funny enough, though, it's probably my as weird as this is, it's probably my favorite mask outside of the first two. And don't misinterpret me as saying that I think it's a good mask. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I think when I compare it to 5 and 6 and H2O and Resurrection, I mean, maybe Resurrection, but Resurrection looks too, I don't know. There's something about the 5. I think this is what it is. I think it is that, okay, if Michael Myers does come back 10 years later and he does walk into a store, well, this is 10 years later. So the probability goes down that he's going to go into a shop and pick up the exact same mask that he had 10 years earlier because that mask burned, right? So it's gone. So what are the chances that he walks into a store? He's got to be quick, right? Because somebody's going to see him. And he picks up this mask, even though it's alluded to the fact that also might be in Jamie's head. I understand that whole scene is sort of, kind of, is she actually saying that? Is she not? But let's play the fact that he did that because he had to get the mask from somewhere. And he picks up this mask. Well, he sees it. It's similar, right? That it's white and it's a face and it's emotionless. And so he's kind of like, oh, that'll do. So he picks it up and he puts it on. We think it looks like ass and garbage because we're comparing it to what came before. And fair enough. But if those two movies didn't exist, we would look at that and go, oh, that's kind of creepy. It's a creepy mask to be wearing, right? So I think that's why it sort of settles with me in the end, is I'm kind of like, I just accept it because I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, he picks up that mask. But no doubt, had they actually had the mask look exactly or close to the original, oh, it would have elevated that movie by a long shot. Wouldn't have changed the things I have, problems with, but it definitely would have helped. Brett Young, H6 mask is the best since H1 mask. Yeah, and that's your opinion, and that's fair. I'm not crazy on it at all. There's certain moments where it looks okay, but I'm not crazy on it. Not crazy on it. Certainly not the worst. 5 is the worst. Well, no, actually. 5. Yeah, 5 is bad. But in H2O, the worst mask I have ever seen, okay? The worst mask I have ever seen is in H2O, but it's the mask we never saw. It's not the CGI mask. I mean, that's shitty, but that's not even a real mask, okay? It's not the mask that they went back and did reshoots with, which is the mask for the most part that we saw. It's that very first mask they used, or they were going to use, or they did use. Do you remember? I remember when the promotional material for Halloween H2O came out. I was 19 in 1998, and I remember seeing in magazines, they were selling it where there was that image of Laurie looking through the door, right? The circle, right? And she's like, like this. And there's we see sort of just the profile of Michael. And you can't really tell, well, the mask might look good. Like if I was looking straight on, it might look all right. It's kind of hard to tell, right? But there's also that promotional shot where it's the other way around. We're seeing Laurie from the side and looking at Michael looking through. Do you guys know the mask I'm talking about? It is fucking atrocious. Like it looks like, it's like got this wide nose and he looks like this. He's like, that's what he looks like. He's like, I'm like, what is this? What is that? It is the worst fucking mask I have ever seen in my life. And they knew it. They knew it. And that's why they went back and they shot pretty much all of his scenes with the mask that they eventually went with. The mask they eventually went with, I don't think is great, but it's certainly light years ahead of what they originally. Can you imagine if that movie had been released with that mask? You can also see that mask in a still with Michael. I think he's he's got his knife like this, and he's looking down. It's a terrible mask. It's terrible. That's the worst mask. That's the worst Michael Myers mask. Followed by Halloween 5. Followed by, for me, probably H6 and Resurrection. It's not that H6 is a bad mask. It's just that they kept changing it so often that it's just like, I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, whatever. But yeah, that mask, that is the worst. That is the worst mask. And thank God they didn't go with that. I mean, say what you want about the CGI shitfest, which is just, like 1 or 2 seconds in one scene. Yeah, I mean, it's atrocious because it looks computer generated. But I mean, okay. But it's not even a real mask, right? They tried to sort of emulate what they already had, and they failed miserably. But, that's so bad. And the reason why they did that is because that was the old mask. They had the old mask on that scene. Oh my God, it's terrible. He does. He looks like he has a perma expression of this. Especially in that shot with him looking through the circular window. He's like, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Did he just fart or something? And he was like, oh, it's horrible. Horrible fucking mask. Anyway, let's move on from that. Okay. Scrolling back up here. Tabitha McCauley, Dave, do you own any other Halloween collectibles memorabilia? Yes, I do. And I want to do a video where I show you guys that. I just haven't done that yet. I definitely, of course, have the Halloween poster out in my hallway there. The original plaqued on wood. I have Nick Castle's autograph beside the poster. I think you guys have probably seen that. I've shown that in a video on my channel. I have that. Of course, I have the mask. I have the knives down there. I also have a couple of figures as well, which I will show you guys eventually on a video too. So yeah, I do. I definitely do have some other stuff that I could show you, which is kind of cool. But again, because I'm a big fan of the originals and not necessarily the later sequels, I don't collect a lot of the later shit that a lot of people do. Okay, David Ferguson, would you like to see a nod to other movie maniacs in this new Halloween film? Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, etc., perhaps on a TV in the background? No, I don't want to see that. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I think it would sort of... Yeah, there's no reason to do it. There's no reason to do it. I don't think they have to do it. No, I don't want to see that because it takes me out of it. It's just kind of like, nah, just leave that, yeah, because, yeah. I mean, you could have somebody wearing a Friday the 13th shirt or something, I guess, maybe. But I don't think any direct nods to the characters, like somebody's watching. Well, I guess they could be watching Friday the 13th. I don't mind shit like that at the end of the day because it just tells you that in this universe, those are fictional characters. So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's all right. I just don't want there to be sort of a focus on it. I get kind of worried. It's a fine line, right? But yeah, if somebody's watching, like it's Halloween night, right? So somebody's watching a horror movie. Maybe they're watching A Nightmare on Elm Street, like how Scream did with Halloween, right? Yeah, I mean, that's okay. That's cool. But I don't want it to become the focus. Or a focus, or even a little focus. It just happens to be in the background. They just happen to be watching A Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't mind that kind of shit. All right. Chris Manley, 1994. Dave, do you think it'd be cool? Do you think it'd be cool if we got a cameo from an older Tommy Doyle, not just Paul Rudd? Or an older Lindsay Wallace in the new movie? I think it would be, but I want the original actors to portray them. I want to see Brian Andrews as an older Tommy Doyle on screen. Or it has to be somebody that looks like, yes, I could buy that this is a 45, 50-year-old Tommy Doyle. Like, I have to be able to buy that. When I shot my movie Halloween the Night He Came Back, for those of you who haven't figured it out, the guy that you first see at the beginning of the movie in the car, he's an actor here in Toronto, and his name is Will Reel. And he's a personal friend of my best friend, Bruce Dale. And one of the reasons why I asked him to be in the movie is not just because he's an actor and I know him, but because whenever I see him, I'm like, oh, I could totally buy that you are Tommy Doyle 40 years later. Could totally buy it. Like, look at Tommy Doyle in 1978 and then look at, my actor at the beginning of Halloween the Night He Came Back. I could totally buy that this was Tommy Doyle. And that's why I cast him, because I wanted to sort of, have that continuity there. I didn't cast, like, Paul Rudd looks nothing like what Tommy Doyle would have looked like 20 years later. Nothing. 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 Like, you look at Paul Rudd and you go, yeah, I'm not really seeing it. You look at William Reel and you look at Brian Andrews and you're like, oh yeah. Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah, for sure. So I'm okay with it not being Brian Andrews as long as if they do a cameo of bringing the character of Tommy Doyle in there, that I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally see this. I could totally see that this is Tommy Doyle. Yep, I buy it. Sure. That I'm okay with. Same with Lindsay. I don't want to see some 44-year-old or 47-year-old woman who doesn't look anything like, what's her face? I forget her real name now, but anything like the actress that played Lindsay. It's like, I'm not buying this. I don't want Melissa McCarthy to be Lindsay. You get the point I'm trying to make, right? So it's just kind of like, no, it's got to be a woman where, oh, I buy that. If it's not the actual actress, I look at her and I go, oh, I could totally buy that is the same woman 40 years later. So I'm okay with that kind of shit. I think it would be cool, definitely. But as long as, if they don't get the real people, it's got to be people that I buy into, Yeah, for sure. Okay. David Lee Barron says, did you notice they used the H6 mask in the beginning of H2O? The H6 mask in the beginning of H2O. Yeah, when Michael Myers steps into the door, right? It's when he first enters, and it's a low angle shot, and we see him enter. It does look like the H6 mask. Has that been confirmed that that was the Halloween 6 mask? Now, don't just give me your opinion on what it looks like. Let me know if it has been categorically confirmed, okay? It absolutely we can quantify this. So it's quantifiable. It's measurable. I can go and look this up, and we have actual sources from the actual production who confirm that, no, this is, in fact, that shot right there was, in fact, the Halloween 6 mask, and not just somebody saying, oh, it looks like it. It was confirmed. Well, you have to give me a source. You have to give me who confirmed it, where they confirmed it. I read in an interview. Okay, cool. All right. Cool stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. I will look that up then. Cool stuff. Did they say why? Was it just a nod to Halloween 6? Is that why? Let me know the reason for that. That's cool, because it does look like it for sure. Yeah, it definitely looks like it, 100%. Let me know why they did that, because it's unnecessary. So I wonder why they did that. John Messiter says, any chance of doing another Halloween fan film with Michael doing mundane day-to-day things, taking a leak, standing in the window, eating a family pet? Yeah, that might be kind of fun. That might be kind of fun to do. No immediate plans to do that, but that might be kind of fun to do some spoofy things. Yeah, I don't tend to do that because I love being able to create the real intent of the character. I love being able to challenge myself and create sort of short films and films where I really sort of try to see if I can bring something cool that is really reminiscent of the character. But I could also challenge myself the other way too and do something fun like that. Yeah, not off the table. That might be kind of fun. Okay. Scrolling back. Brett Young, how does your GF wife support your Halloween fandom? She's a great support. I could not have asked for anybody better to be in my life who is behind me 100% in what I do. And she totally recognizes my talents, not only in being able to perform as an actor and being able to speak publicly, but also as a professional voiceover actor and a communicator. And she is totally behind what I do 100%. And yeah, she's great. And she definitely is a good sport about all my Halloween movie memorabilia fandom. So definitely, guys, if you're with somebody who doesn't support you in that way and who always makes you feel like shit for it, that's not good. Don't be in those relationships. Okay. Just scrolling back here. Okay, we'll go another 10 minutes. I'd like to make these Thorazine episodes about 90 minutes, as opposed to the 2 hours that I usually make the regular AMAs. So we'll go another about 10 minutes here, and then we'll call it a day. But I really appreciate everybody tuning in for the second episode of Thorazine. And hey, as we get closer to the release date of Halloween, especially next month, right? San Diego Comic-Con is happening next month in San Diego. And some shit will probably be released then too, right? And Universal is definitely focusing on the new Halloween movie, along with, what's the other one they're focusing on too? There's another property that they're focusing on, but they're definitely putting a lot of their eggs into the Halloween basket for San Diego Comic-Con. There's no doubt that next month's 2 episodes of Thorazine will be very interesting. We'll have some good, juicy stuff to talk about. I'm looking forward to that. KC Sportnut 33, Michael must hang in Canada during his off-season. Yeah, he hangs up here during his off-season. Although it's been hot. Because, for those of you who don't know, Canada is a 4-seasoned country, contrary to popular belief. We don't live in igloos, and we don't get snow all year round. We get very hot summers. And especially here in Toronto, in southern Ontario, we get really humid summers. like Florida type weather. Like, you walk outside and you're like, oh, not every single day, but it's not unprecedented for like, we'll have like a heat wave last like, a week or two. And it's like, oh my God. And then we go back to normal warm temperatures. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we do get pretty cold, fucking miserable winters. I like the winters where we hardly get any snow. Those are my favorite winters. Brett Young, when do you think we'll hear news about this year's Halloween convention? Have you decided if you'll go yet? Great news. Great question. Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I think the last we heard was from Sean Clark back in February, where he said something definitely is happening. And it's probably happening in October for sure. And it's more than likely happening in Pasadena, which is the original location for the original movie, of course. If not in Pasadena, definitely happening out in Hollywood somewhere. And probably in October. The real question is, yes, I do believe something is definitely going to be happening. I haven't heard anything, any new news in that regard. The movie comes out on October the 19th. The question is, do they want it to happen that weekend? Probably not, because they don't want to take away from people going to see the movie. At the same time, you think, well, that's great marketing for the movie. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think it's going to happen either the week before the movie or the week after the movie. The weekend, right? The weekend before the movie or the weekend after the movie. So we're looking at like the 12th or 13th, or the 25th or 26th, somewhere around there. Which would be cool because it's the last week. Like, if they do it the weekend after the movie comes out, then that's your last weekend before Halloween. So that's kind of cool. But then at the same time, if nobody likes the movie, you know what I mean? So I don't know. If I was a betting man, I think they're going to do it the weekend before the movie comes out. But we'll see. We'll see. Am I planning on going? Well, nothing's confirmed yet. But yes, I am sort of mulling about in my own mind and working with my schedule to see if I can attend the convention this year, which I think will be totally awesome. And maybe I'll do some live streams from the convention and maybe even get to meet some people and share some thoughts, which will be really cool. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. If you guys want me to go to the convention, let me know. Okay. Scrolling. Just scroll, make sure we got... Okay, John Messiter, do you think Reverend Jackson Museum will make an appearance in 2018? I love the exchange of him and Dr. Loomis in H4. No, I don't think so. I think he's dead. Hey, listen, if Dr. Loomis is dead, that guy looked like he was, 10 years older than Loomis. No, I think he's dead. Yeah, Tabitha, is that guy still alive? That's what I was thinking. Rory Moore, Dave, have you considered when you hit 100 patrons, whoever wins the knife, giving them the option to have you sign it or not? Oh, I'd be more than happy to sign it. If somebody wants me to sign the knife, I'd be more than happy. I wouldn't just sign it and send it because I have no idea what the intent, whoever wins it, I have no idea what they want to do with it. If they want to just have it on display, if they want to use it in photos, if they want to use it on Halloween, if they want, I have no idea what they want to do with it. So I would never sign it. But if whoever wins it wants me to sign it, I'd be more than happy to sign it. Okay. Scrolling back here. Just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. I probably have. Again, hey, even though there's only, I think at our peak we had about 16 people in the room. If I did miss your question, I am sorry. Again, it's nothing personal, of course. I'm just so thorough with my answers, which I know you guys appreciate, but okay, David Ferguson, has there been a rough date set yet for another AMA with Drum Dums, Wham, and Cody Leach? No, not that I've heard. I'm glad you guys really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. That was my first time talking in real time to Cody and to Lee and to Mike and Jay. And they all seem like really nice guys, really great guys, really, passionate about movies and horror and Halloween. And that was a lot of fun. And I would absolutely do it again. But there has not been any sort of, date yet sent, or even a tentative date. Maybe we'll do something next month, maybe. I don't know. Maybe after San Diego Comic-Con, maybe something massive will happen or drop at SDCC that we'll feel the need to talk about it. I'm not sure. Who knows? Or maybe maybe we can get all of them, everybody, to go to the convention and we do something there. Wouldn't that be amazing? I don't want to speak for them, of course, but that would be kind of cool if we could make that happen. Okay, the live AMA was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. You took over that show, man. I don't think I took over the show. I think there were a lot of moments where I wasn't talking and letting. I'm very conscious of how much I speak about a topic because I like to go into detail. So it's always in the back of my mind to be aware of that. But there was a lot of opportunities or a lot of moments where Mike and Jay went into great detail as well. So, but you know, hey, I'm Dave McRae, man. When you have me on talking about Halloween, I'm going to be talking about Halloween. But definitely, they're great guys. My first time sort of talking with them, and I think, yeah, they're cool. I had a lot of fun, for sure. Tabitha Macaulay, he did do great. At one point, someone told Dave to stop talking. Oh, did they? I didn't see that. Someone told me to stop talking. Well, I find what happens in this case is everybody has their fans, right? There are a lot of people that are fans of me and my channel and what I do, and maybe even through my voice work as well, and that's fine. And then there are people that have never heard of me. And there are people that are Wham fans, right? They're Mike and Jay fans. And that's great, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so when they tune into when they tune into the live Hallow stream, they are focused on Wham, and they want to hear what these guys are going to say. So when this guy, Dave McRae, who they've never heard of, is yapping, they're kind of like, Dave, shut the hell up. I want to hear from Mike and Jay. Or if you're a Cody fan, right, and Cody's not saying much, which I know he didn't have a lot to say, but what he did say was really valuable. You know, they're Cody fans and like, I want to hear, or, you know, they're Lee fans. Like, I want to hear Lee speak. And then, but fans of me, when I, begin talking, they're okay with that because they love what I have to say, or they love my insight and perspective and, that kind of thing. It's not personal. I never take it personal. I know I talk a lot because I have a lot to say about a particular topic. So, yeah, it all depends on where you fall. I think the more live streams we do, the more we will find that groove and the more people will get used to everybody and used to me, because I'm sort of new on the block, even though I'm closing in on 9,000 subscribers soon. I still have, about 400 or 500 to go. I'm new on the block in terms of doing this. Like I've had my channel for 12 years, but I only started putting myself out there within the last year, right? Well, Lee and Cody and the guys at Wham have been doing this for several years. So I'm still kind of the new kid on the block, even though I've made some significant gains. So a lot of people are still getting used to who I am and what I'm all about. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Dave, shut the fuck up! It's funny. Okay, David Ferguson, not to be biased, but I think you stood out from the rest of them. Well, I appreciate that. I think, it probably comes down to just, what I do for a living. I mean, I'm a communicator, I'm a voiceover actor, I'm a performer. So I'm very good at articulating my thoughts. It's not that what others might say are not as valuable or not as good or insightful. It's just that I might be better at articulating it because of, what I do. But, certainly the guys did great. They all did. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. They did great. You got to be yourself, right? You have to be yourself. And I think what Lee and Cody and the guys at Wham do are fantastic. Okay, I'll take one more question, and then we will call it a day. Hey, gotta go, Dave. Everyone have a wonderful day. Team McRage. That's right, Team McRage. And just so you know, I am still working on the idea of t-shirts. Okay, it's not 100% yet, but I'm still working on that idea. So you guys will be notified, of course, when and if I do that, because I think that'll be a lot of fun as well. Okay, Tabitha Macaulay, any last words of wisdom before leaving, Dave? That's a great question. Any last words of wisdom? Well, let me say this. I want to say this, actually. I want to say that I appreciate actually all of you guys who tune in. And even though we may not always agree and we may not always see eye to eye in terms of maybe the Halloween universe and what we love about the character and Halloween, I appreciate all of you who are respectful, honest, sincere, and actually are not afraid to share your opinions and say, well, yeah, I can see it that way, Dave, but I like this. I like that. I like that we can have a dialogue. It shows the maturity level of a lot of you guys. And I think you guys are great, because when I first began doing this, I didn't know what to expect, right? I mean, I'm very rarely fazed by anything, okay? But certainly I have had my fair share of trolls, and, it doesn't bother me, but I have had, my fair share. But with you guys, I appreciate your insight, because even your questions, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's a good question, and you'll hear me say that. That's a good question, so you guys get me to think too, outside the box, or, what about this, or, what about that? So I just think you guys are great. I think I like what you have to say, because it could easily go the other way, and it hasn't yet. So I think you guys are awesome. Anyways, yeah, so let's call it a day there, and I appreciate you tuning in to this second episode of Thorazine. You guys have the links, so this will go, right up, and you can watch till your heart's content. And it's been 90 minutes now, so again, I do appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will let you guys know as soon as possible when the next episode of Thorazine will be, episode 3. And I'm thinking probably, the beginning of July, some point. But I will let you guys know as soon as I know. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you think of something to ask for the next episode, keep it in the back of your mind, write it down, and we will get to it next time. Or if I do a Facebook Live video, which I'm thinking about doing soon, or another AMA, you can always ask there as well. But this is great. I love that we have this little show that is nothing but Halloween. Nobody else can disturb us. All right, guys, take care. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, let me get ready to turn this off here. I was gotta get ready. Okay, here we go. Cheers.